Hi, welcome to another episode with A Day at a Daycare with Kimberly Kuhns. In the back is my boyfriend John. Say hi.
Hello.
I am going to be talking about in this podcast about what a daycare worker should do when biting happens once or more than once, and what they should not do and what to do if it does occur. What a daycare worker should do when biting happens once or more is one, document every incident and inform both families that is involved. Because they need to know that their child has been bitten, or the one that bit. If skin is broken, parents should be informed right away. Decide and they will decide about if they need to take that child to the doctor or not. Two, they need to try to figure out what is causing the child to bite and if there are any patterns as to when, why, and how the biting is occurring. Many possibilities identified be easier to prevent. So if there's other possibilities that might be able to work, try them while you're working with that child until you notify that parent. Another key point is meet with the biter's family to learn more about the child's behavior at home and how they handle any biting or other behaviors. The child care worker needs to know how the parent handles the child's issues at home so that they know how to handle it there at the daycare, at the school, so they know how to address the situation. They also need to collaborate on a plan to address the issue with parents, with including an agreed upon adult response when biting occurs so that the biter is getting a clear and consistent message. You gotta make sure you're clear and not mean about getting a message to the child that is biting, because if you're mean about it and you're forceful, they're going to keep on doing it. And it will get to the point to where it will have to become serious and that you will have to do further actions about it. And if that happens, you will have to start shadowing the biter to prevent any more incidents. Need to do the responsibility of shadowing the child until the biting has stopped. If it keeps approaching, you gotta shadow in order to prevent it from happening anymore and to any other kids. Biting is a form of their communication, which I'm about to talk about, and it's the way of speaking how they feel about themselves. Recommend or provide additional support and or resources. Biting, which is a form of communication, like I just said, with kids, which is then the biter needs to learn ways to express themselves. Do you have any questions so far or comments, John?
I think you're doing really well.
When biting happens frequently and long, the child is no longer a toddler, it can be an indication that the child has trouble communicating appropriately and or having difficulty processing sensory input or big emotions. So if that's the only way they can tell you how they're feeling, you gotta work with them on like expressing their emotions, because if you don't do that, they're gonna keep on doing it and they're gonna think it's okay to do that, and that is not okay. um Many biters in these scenarios can benefit from services such as speech therapy, occupational therapy, or working with a behavioral specialist. They can actually work with the therapist to help the child, that the parents will have to get set up to help the child not bite so much. If they do that, the child care worker will probably hope that it works with the child. Explain to the family of the child or the children being bitten what the provider is doing to prevent further biting incidents. And then what you do not do to this bullet point, you do not, absolutely not, share the identity of the child biting or personal details about the child to other families. That is a HIPAA violation. If you do that, you are breaking HIPAA rules. Should tell the family or families that they are addressing the problem. They need to know if you're addressing the problem, because if not, they will have to do some further investigation on it. And then what a child care worker should not do when biting happens, is one, these are very valid, and I do not see this at my daycare, and I'm happy that I do not see this. Is one, terminate the contract of the child who is biting. Pretty much means that they don't report of the child biting if they consistently do it. There are certainly times when the child care setting is not a good fit for the child, but expelling the child for biting alone without trying things or ideas are not appropriate. You cannot punish the child for if that's the only way of knowing how to communicate their feelings. You just can't do that. You gotta keep telling the parents what they're doing, and if they keep on doing it, you gotta keep informing the parents so they can keep track of how often they're biting people or kids. And I've actually been bitten once, the very first 2 months that I've worked at that daycare, and it's not pleasant. Second bullet point, punish the biter or react with a strong emotion. You do not punish him or her, and you do not react with a strong emotion like raising the voice or yelling or do something harshly toward that child because they're biting. While logical consequences can be appropriate, especially for older children who bite, but punishing a toddler for biting isn't helpful or necessary. A toddler's not going to know right from wrong yet about biting, but an older kid will. So you got to redirect that toddler to do the right thing about when it comes to biting. Blame, you do absolutely not blame the biter's parents. You do not blame the parents of the kid who is biting. That is absolutely no. Child care provider may share tips for home and school to eliminate biting, but no parents wants their child to be biting if it's not the parent, since it's not the parent's fault. It technically isn't the parent's fault. And the parents just needs help redirecting their child to not to bite. And the one thing you do not absolutely do when the child is biting, you do not just let it go and do nothing. That is an absolutely no. Reoccurring biting needs to be addressed and taken seriously. Like I said in the very beginning, if it keeps happening, you gotta notify the family. You gotta notify the daycare worker, upper people, and you gotta write an incident report. An incident report is what you fill out, and it will go to the parents that of the child that has an incident such as getting bitten or falling or something. Alright, so this is what you do after a bite has occurred. Is there any questions or comments you have so far, John?
You're doing good.
Okay. You immediately wash the wound thoroughly with soap and water for 5 minutes. It's so that you can get all that germs from the other kid's mouth out of that broken skin. And you need to make sure you clean it thoroughly. Second, you apply pressure if there's bleeding. And if it bleeds for so amount of time, you need to notify the parents and have them take them to a doctor if needed. Use a cold pack if there are bruising. I've actually had to get a cold pack for a bruising bite before. For broken skin, for them to see a doctor. Like I said, if there's a broken skin, they need to see a doctor so that they know it, just in case if there's an infection, they can get something for it or whatever. But if so, I just biting is a big thing with very young kids in a daycare setting because they don't know what they can get away with. So you gotta redirect them kindly and not harshly about them biting. And when they bite another kid, you need to follow the protocols and the procedures in order to when the biting occurs. So if you do that, and if there's broken skin, you gotta notify all those people that I mentioned. So, this is the end of my podcast. Any comments, questions, John, you have that an audience might ask?
I've heard there's a lot of biting for sure in daycares. And the one thing that I got out of all that is you really got to be careful about the biting if it gets
Yep.
to way worse situations. Let the parents know, is what I heard. Try to, even before the parents know, try to get the biting or whatever. If there's blood, try to take care of it yourself. If not, then again, go to the parents. But I think I pretty much comprehended all of that, right? What would you say?
Yep.
All
You
right.
got it down pat. And if you have subscribe to my channel and subscribe to his channel. Um it's at Buckle Up with John Buckle. Subscribe to him. He has great videos. It's skyrocketing. Subscribe
Trying
to
to.
him. It is worth you subscribing. And subscribe to my channel. If you have questions or comments, leave them down below.
I was just
Um,
gonna say that too. Subscribe to her channel. She's been amazing, and just really make sure to click on that subscribe button, like she was saying, even on my channel. All right, I think that's about it. So, see you guys
yep,
later.
yep. And I will see you in the next podcast. And I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.